Hey everyone, today we're going to be moving on from just regular factoring and we're going to be solving quadratic equations using factoring. So the process is going to be very similar to stuff that you've seen. We're just going to add on basically another little bit longer step. So the way that we're going to do this, we are going to try to get our equation equal to 0. The ones that you'll see for the next couple days will be equal to 0 anyway, so that's not going to be a problem. Step 2 is factoring the quadratic equation, so that's something that you have gotten used to by now, I'm sure. Step 3, set each factor equal to 0. We'll explain why and how that works. And then step 4, solve the two smaller equations. So we're going to break down equations into two smaller ones so that you can get two answers. So the way this is going to work, well, let's go through the steps on this example. So for this example, we get our equation equal to 0. It is already equal to 0. There's a 0 on that side. Step 2, factor the quadratic equation. So we're going to ignore this stuff over here for now. We're just going to take the a equals 1, b equals -4, c equals -12, and we're going to factor that. So let's use the box method here. So we'll start out with let's see, that's going to be -12 on the top. Ways to get -12 would be like -3 times 4 or 2 times -6. 2 times -6, when you add those together, you get -4, so that's what we're going to work with. Then I make the box, right? 2. And in my box, I'm going to put the x squared here. The -12 goes here, and then 2 and -6 go in those two spots, and you put an x next to them. So that means we have x times x for x squared. Here, x times 2 is 2x, and x times -6x. 2 times -6 is -12. So that means that our two factors are x plus 2 and x minus 6. And I'm going to carry down the equals to equals 0. So we have our two factors. Now we're going to move on to step 3, set each factor equal to 0. The reason why this works, we have something called the zero product rule, which just says that anything multiplied by 0 is equal to 0. So 0 times doesn't really matter what's in here equals 0. That's the same as like 0 times 5, that's equal to 0, or 0 times x equals 0. Stuff like that. So we can expand that, and we can just say that if that is the case, then if I need this equal to 0, I can say that x plus 2 equals 0. Just make that equal 0. And the other factor, x minus 6 equals 0. Now, we have two equations. There are no squares on them. There's no fancy extra stuff to do here. We just need to solve them for x. So just -2. And we get x equals -2, because 0 minus 2 is -2. That's an answer. And here, add 6 to both sides. Solve that. And you get x equals 6. That's another solution, because, just solve that like a normal equation. So that means that our two answers, we can write them together. X equals -2 and 6. So one way to write that, you can write them in the squiggly brackets. And that just says that those are the two solutions together. So that is how you solve a quadratic equation using factoring. You just factor it and then set each equal to 0, solve both of those, and you get your two answers. All right. So let's do another equation. Kind of worked. So this equation, 3x squared minus x minus 24 equals 0. So we're going to start by doing 3 times 24. So that is going to be -24. That's -72. And we have to get -x. So that is the same as, actually this works if you have -9 and 8. Negative 9 times 8 is negative 72. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1. That's the same as negative 1x. So we can use the box method again here. You could use the factoring by grouping method if you want, but I'm going to use the box method a second time. So make the box. It's kind of okay, whatever. 3x squared goes here. Negative 24 goes here. We'll put the negative 9x here and the 8x there. So we have all of our all the parts of the box. Now we're going to break that down. So 3x times 1x, that's how you're going to get the 3x squared. Also, it makes sense to put the 3x over here because we need to have 3x go into the negative 9x. And it does go in negative 3 times. So 3 times negative 3, negative 9. 1x times 8 is 8x. So we're going to put an 8 over there. And just to check, 8 times negative 3, negative 24. So we are going to take those. Our factors are 1x minus 3 and 3x plus 8. Again, that is equal to 0. We need to make sure that's equal to 0. And we can take those individually and set them equal to 0. So 1x minus 3 equals 0, and 3x plus 8 equals 0. So we're going to solve these separately. Remember, set them equal to 0 on their own. So add 3 to both sides. So we get 1x equals 0 plus 3 is 3. And we can divide by 1. We don't really need to, but we will anyway. So x equals 3 divided by 1 is 3. So that's one answer. And here, subtract 8. So we get 3x equals 0 minus 8 is negative 8. And divide by 3. So x equals, I'm going to leave that as negative 8/3. That's the other answer. So our solution altogether is x equals 3 and negative 8/3. And that's everything. So again, to run through the steps, make sure your quadratic equation is equal to 0. Do all the steps to factor it. Keep that equal to 0. Break the two factors, set them equal to 0 on their own, like that, and then solve those two. And that gives you your two solutions. So good luck on your homework. If you have any questions, email me or come to my office hours.